I have in my hand here a three-way HDMI switcher. Basically the idea of this is to have three HDMI output devices feeding into a single switcher and having a single output from that feeding to a HD TV, for example. And it allows you to flick between any one of those three devices. So for instance, we could have, we'll say, a set-top box for satellite, an Xbox, and also a PlayStation 3, all connected at the one time. And we would simply use this unit to flick from one to the other, either using a manual button or a remote control. Okay? So what makes this a very high specification unit is the fact that, first of all, it's 3D, and then the second thing is the range of resolutions that it supports. It supports everything from 480i all the way up to 1080p. Okay, so very extensive in terms of its range. So let's look at the component parts that come in it. The first thing here is the instruction manual. It's very brief, but then again the setup of this is pretty straightforward. We have a power unit here, which you can see. It comes with a 3-pin plug, and it has an output of 5 volts and 1 amp. We have the actual switcher unit here, so you'll notice here it's incredibly compact. If we look in the front of it here, we simply have a power indication switch here. We have a manual selection here, so we don't have a remote control. We can flick between any one of the three inputs on it, and which one has been chosen is indicated by the green LED here, and we have also a signal LED here as well. If we rotate this around, just look in the back anyway, and we'll notice that we just have one output and we have three inputs. So 3 input devices and a single output, always going, we'll say, to this television here in this example. And the final thing then is we have the remote control. It's very simple, just a power on button, and there's an up and down button. And it comes with a very compact little battery, which you can slots in here. And what I did initially when it arrived is I just pulled out this plastic tab, and that engages the battery. Okay? So let's go through an example of how we use this. So what we have here is we have 2 set-top boxes here. One's for satellite and the other is a combo box. So, you know, it's just for demonstration purposes here. And I'm going to give an example of how we'll connect this and then select between the 2 devices. So I'm just going to hop up here, and off screen I'm going to connect in our power unit here. We run this down here. If we look inside of the unit here, we have a 5-volt input here. So we push it in, and the moment we do that, we see a power input. Okay? So the next thing here is I'm going to take the input from the first box here, and I'll feed it into input number 1, and then I'll feed the next into any input I want really, but in this case I'm just going to use input 2, simply more logical. So if I had a third device connected on at that point. So the next part of the process is actually to get an input into it, or an output from it here. So I'm just going to come along and I'm just going to grab this HDMI here and push it into the output here, and it feeds into this television here. Okay? So we can see here that automatically we're getting an output here. Now I can see here looking that the default starting position of this particular one here was L2. Okay? So if I wanted to change it here, I can just come along and I can just change it here. And we can just flick through here. So we'll see L3 here has been indicated, L2 again, L1, etc. Now what we can do here is, instead of doing it this way, I can actually do it with remote control. So I can just click up, up, and we can do it down alternatively as well. We can power it on and off anyway. So that's it, overview anyway. So it's extremely neat, compact little unit. It does the job. It saves a lot of messing in terms of pulling in and out wires, and the fact that it comes with such a high specification means that, you know, it's really future-proofing you in terms of its ability to cope with future technologies. So that's it anyway. Overview of the 3-way HDMI switch.